Well, the number 6 Alabama Crimson Tide take on the number 15 LSU Tigers in Baton Rouge this weekend. This is going to be a huge matchup, guys. But if you haven't, please like, share, subscribe to the channel. And by doing so, it greatly helps out my channel and it helps me grow as a content creator. There's a lot on the line for this game, guys, and it's the battle for the West. Who's going to go to Atlanta for the SEC championship? And it's a lot riding on this game, guys. And I've been doing some research and looking at the stats and stuff like that. Of course, Alabama has Bryce Young at quarterback. He's thrown for 1,906 yards total, and he has 18 total touchdowns. He has 3 interceptions on the season. What can I say? Where would Alabama be without this guy? I mean, he's bailed Alabama out in a lot of games this season, especially on the road, and he's definitely a leader for the team, and definitely going to be needed in this matchup. On the other hand, LSU has Jaden Daniels, a guy that's greatly improved with LSU, and he has LSU playing at a high level right now, and he's thrown for 1,812 yards, and he has 12 touchdowns and 1 interception. So what can I say? A guy that came from Arizona State, transferred in and came right in and was able to lead the team. Dual threat guy, and basically the same thing. The leader for LSU, and the offense goes through him, and definitely a guy that Alabama's going to have to account for. Like I said, dual threat guy, can run it, and he's getting better with the pass as well. So this is going to be an intense matchup, guys. And I'm gonna go to the running backs. Of course, Alabama has Jamar Gibbs. So far, he has 672 yards with 6 touchdowns. Another guy, great player for Alabama, has bailed us out in a lot of games as well. Definitely gonna be needed this game. The O-line's gonna have to get better at pushing up front, because we're gonna need them in this game. LSU has a great defensive front that I'm gonna get to in a minute, but yeah, this is going to be a good game, guys. Jaden Daniels is actually the leading, you know, uh, I guess you would say rusher for the team right now. He has 524 yards with 9 touchdowns. So like I said, uh, he's basically a key cog in their offense, of course, but they have other guys as well, too. And I'm going to speak on those guys as well. At wide receiver, Alabama has Ja'Cory Brooks. He's the leading receiver. So far, he has 376 yards and 4 touchdowns. Uh, he stepped up in some games for Alabama, but Alabama as a whole has a problem at wide receiver as far as, getting continuity with the offense. A lot of guys uh, early on the season was dropping balls, and it looks like Alabama's starting to get some guys, but, they have to settle down on who's going to be the guy, and Alabama, in my opinion, still hasn't figured that out yet. But Ja'Cory Brooks would be one of those guys that think will step up. Jermaine Burton hasn't really stepped up. We thought he was going to be that guy going into the season, but he really hasn't shown up. So it's going to be interesting to see who steps up. We still got guys like Kobe Prentice, and I've heard news about Tyler Harrell. He caught that, I think, one pass in the last game against Mississippi State. But Alabama definitely gonna need some wide receivers to step up. LSU, on the other hand, has Kayshon Boutte. We all know a great player, great wide receiver, and probably the leading guy. But they also have Malik Neighbors, another guy. He has 455 yards with 1 touchdown, but definitely a talented player. And LSU is not lacking in wide receivers, guys. Like, LSU has the guys, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens in this matchup. I'm going to read off the stats for both teams. Coming into this game, Alabama's averaging 43.1 points per game. LSU is averaging 35.1 points per game. So Alabama has the edge in points per game. Points allowed per game, Alabama's allowing 16.6 yards per game. Points per game. LSU is allowing 21.1 points per game. So Alabama has the advantage there. Total yardage, Alabama is averaging 485.1 yards per game. LSU is averaging 450.1 points per game. So Alabama has the edge, but LSU is right there, actually right there, points allowed in total yards per game. So It's going to be an interesting matchup, guys. Breaking that down, Alabama's allowing, or not allowing, but getting 274 yards per game. LSU is getting 266 yards in the air per game. Alabama's averaging 210. LSU is averaging 183 on the ground. So, like I said, it's going to be a good matchup. Yards allowed, Alabama's allowing 295.6, and LSU is allowing 346 per game. So, advantage goes to Alabama. And if we were to break that down, Alabama is allowing 201 through the air to opponents, but they're only allowing 93.9 on the ground. So that's pretty good, stats defensively for both categories. LSU, on the other hand, is allowing 204 in the air, and they're allowing 142 on the ground. So they're doing good with the pass, but they're allowing, 142 on the ground. That's going to be interesting in this matchup, to see what happens. I'm looking at past opponents. Alabama beat Vanderbilt 55-3, a game they should have won. Arkansas, they beat them 49-26 on the road. Alabama looked like they was going to, run away with it, but Arkansas was able to fight back, make it close for a minute. But Alabama broke off two huge runs with Jamar Gibbs, and they was able to seal the win. But that was on the road. Texas A&M played Alabama close. We all know Jalen Miro started that game and fumbled, twice and threw an interception and gave Texas A&M a short field. So that cost Alabama, Texas A&M making that game closer. But Alabama still got the victory that game. And, of course, Alabama went on the road to Tennessee, lost 52-49. Tennessee completely exposed Alabama's defense, especially at the safety position. And Alabama, took a huge loss there. And Tennessee is a team that's a very, very good team right now. And that game was on the road, and me as an Alabama fan, I have some concerns about this game, being in Baton Rouge. And, it's going to be an interesting matchup. And then Alabama beat Mississippi State, 30-6. They bounced back and had a better defensive performance. But on the offensive side, kind of offense sputtered in the third quarter. And that's another concern that I have, for this game. Meanwhile, LSU had a close victory against Auburn, 27-17. That was a game, they played in Jordan-Hare. Auburn was up 17-0 at one point, but LSU was able to fight back and win that game 21-17. So that was a good victory. They lost to Tennessee at home, though, 40-13. LSU had a lot of, mistakes that game, and you can't have mistakes against a team like Tennessee, that scores quick and very, very efficient on offense. They was able to beat Florida at Florida, 45-35. A cross-division rival, that's always a good game, and LSU was able to start, picking it up, offensively and stuff like that in that game. Then they came off a great victory against Ole Miss, and I think Ole Miss was, number 7 at the time, beat them 45-20. Great victory against a great offensive mind and Ole Miss quarterback. Not quarterback, but head coach Lane Kiffin was able to shut that offense down, guys. 45-20. Lane Kiffin's no slouch with the offense, and LSU was able to get that victory. And it was at home, and they're riding high right now. And I'm gonna look at the stats for the last game that they played. Of course, Alabama played Mississippi State. Like I said, they beat them 30-6. Great defensive performance. Bryce Young, that game, he threw for 249 yards and had 2 touchdowns. He had an okay day that game. Jahmyr Gibbs only had 37 yards rushing, and he was able to get a touchdown. But Ja'Cory Brooks had 74 yards. But the only receiving touchdown came from JoJo Earl. He had a 38 yards total in the game. He got a touchdown. And Trayshawn Holden had 23 yards, a touchdown. That game, Mississippi State was playing hard defensively. They was hitting. They came to play that game. And like I said, the offense sputtered in the third quarter. I don't know if it's play calling or if the receivers are not getting separation. I don't know what it was, but in the third quarter, we wasn't able to score, and that's a big concern going into this matchup against a great LSU team. We definitely going to have to play our A game if we want to win this game. But total yardage that game, Alabama was able to get, like I said, 290 yards, 261 through the air, and 29 on the ground rushing. We got to clean that up going in Baton Rouge. It's going to be a loud environment, and the Alabama offense has to click in this game. If not, it's going to be a long game. But Alabama was able to hold Mississippi State to 293 total yards of offense with 231 passing and 62 rushing. So Alabama was able to shut the run down in the pass for the most part. So, like I said, the defense played very well. Eli Ricks came in and started at cornerback position and was able to bring some type of attitude to the team that it seemed like the defense didn't have at first. But great defensive performance for Alabama. Meanwhile, LSU beat Ole Miss, and they beat them, like I said, 45-20. A great game for Jaden Daniels. He threw for 248 yards for 2 touchdowns. And he also rushed for 121 with 3 touchdowns. Like I said, dual threat guy. Great quarterback. Josh Williams, he had 76 yards and a touchdown. Marnie Goodwin, he had 55 yards. Like I said, LSU has a lot of great players around Jaden Daniels. Jeray Jenkins had 51 yards and a touchdown. Mason Taylor had 44 yards and a touchdown. Like I said, they still have Kayshawn Booty. He had 43 yards that game receiving. Malik Neighbors had 37 yards that game. So, like I said, LSU is a very, very talented team. Just as talented as Alabama going in this matchup. And team stat-wise, LSU was able to get 500 total yards of offense. Like I said, played very well. 248 through the air and 252 on the ground. They completely ran all over LSU. Ole Miss. I'm sorry. Ole Miss was able to get 404 total yards of offense. They was able to get 287 through the air and 117 on the ground. So Ole Miss was able to put up some yardage, but it didn't matter in the end. LSU completely dominated Ole Miss, a great Ole Miss team. So with all that being said, if I had to give a prediction for this game, Alabama has struggled on the road, recently, and even as much as last year. It just seemed like they struggle on the road. And I remember Nick Saban saying something about, the team having anxiety. And if they had anxiety at Tennessee, they're going into a very, very hostile environment in LSU, at Baton Rouge. It's going to be a night game. And I have so much respect for LSU because I feel like that team right there, like I don't care what year it is, how bad we're down or whatever. LSU is going to play Alabama, just like every other SEC team. But LSU plays us tight just about every year. If I'm not mistaken, last year we beat LSU. It was a close game last year. I can't remember the score right now, but that was a very, very close game. And that was at home, And now we're going to Baton Rouge. And Alabama has a history of dominating in Baton Rouge, but LSU is clicking at the right time. This is going to be an interesting matchup, guys. And I think the key to this game, like I said, I think Alabama needs to establish that guy at wide receiver. We need to get separation. And, make Bryce Young, make him comfortable back there. And the O-line is another concern that I have. Like I said, Mississippi State was able to play really, really good up front against our O-line. The O-line needs to be able to pass block better. And I know that we didn't start, McLaughlin in, at center last game. Nick Saban said he was battling injuries and stuff like that. So hopefully we can get him back this game. When he's in the game, it seems like Alabama's run games is a whole lot better. And Dalcourt seems like he's a better pass blocker than a run blocker. Alabama's going to have to establish the run in this game. LSU has a great front. They have great players like B.J. Ojulari, and they got a lot of good guys. Uh, if they had Mason Smith back, I would have been really, really concerned about this game, even more concerned because he's a great player, but he's out for the season. But they still have an elite D line, and they're good at creating pressure. And I think this is going to be a close game, guys. I'm looking at the spread. They're saying the spread is, they got Alabama 13 points. I'm going to be honest, I think that's too high. I don't see Alabama covering this game. Like I said, Alabama's struggling on the road, and ultimately I'm picking the Alabama Crimson Tide to win this game. I'm picking my team to win this game, but I don't have them winning. The spread, yeah, I wrote down the score. I'm picking Alabama 31-20. I don't see Alabama, making the spread this game. I think LSU is going to bring their all. I think they got an elite coaching staff over there, and they're going to play one of their best games this season against us, guys. But I still see the Alabama Crimson Tide coming out of there with a victory. It's going to be tough. Like I said, road environment at night in Baton Rouge. It's going to be loud. Like I said, Alabama players can't afford to come into this game with anxiety. They're going to have to leave that in the locker room because they come out like that, LSU can easily win this game. And things can fall out of, all out of whack for Alabama. But hopefully the team, the last game, they can build off of that. And from here on out, it's do or die. If Alabama want to get to where they want to go, they gotta bring the game. They gotta play. So, but I got them winning the game. But what do you guys think? Leave your thoughts in the comment section. And once again, guys, if you haven't, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And I'll definitely be back with more college football content. Thanks, guys, and roll tide.